We're Dr. Shield, and we do insurance differently than most companies. Things like simplifying details so it's easy to understand what makes us Malaysia's most innovative indemnity provider. As a Dr. Shield client, you'll enjoy comprehensive coverage with fewer exclusions. With some insurers, you'll only find out what's not covered when you make a claim. Our policy details are online and easy for everyone to understand. Competitive premiums that don't keep increasing. Many insurers increase their premiums across the board to compensate for losses. Dr. Shield limits the number of doctors insured from high-risk categories, so our premiums start fair and stay fair. Prompt dispute resolutions. We're pro-mediation because settlement and negotiation, instead of endless litigation, is better for everyone. Career and reputation protection. Typically, litigation can drain a doctor financially and emotionally. We limit the damage by both, so our clients emerge good names intact. And peace of mind, because a happy doctor is a good doctor. Our different approach to creating policies means we put you first, before us, so you can enjoy your career and sleep like a baby, even if you've just delivered one. Dr. Shield, insurance with a difference.
Thanks for staying with us, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to another webinar. And we bring to you another in the second season of our medical legal series organized by Dr. Shield and Chup. The topic today will be on aggravated damages. This may be covered a little bit in some of our previous sessions, but this is exclusively on aggravated damages. And our speaker is Ms. Viveka Rubani, of a partner at Jari Viveka. So, the talk will be about half an hour, and it's a pre-recorded talk which I'll stream shortly after this. Then after that, I'll bring Ms. Viveka online to take your questions. Okay, now as for the Q&A, just a quick reminder, we would prefer you to use Slido. So if you can go to slido.com and then enter the code 1255249, it will take you to our Q&A section. Or if you scan the QR code here with your normal QR code scanner, and it will take you to the same link exactly. Or if you have the Slido app, you can go and visit that 1255249, and the Q&A will be there as well. If you have problems with Slido, you can use YouTube chat to ask questions, and we'll highlight them. Okay, now just a reminder that if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. It will help keep you notified of our upcoming scheduled webinars. So please do subscribe if you haven't already. Okay. CPD points. This talk is eligible for CPD points. If you are a dentist, you would have already been notified of a pre-registration link, and I'll put it up here in case you haven't seen it. Sorry, and that is dops.my/dentist0524. For the doctors, I will provide you with an attendance link to be displayed at the end of the talk. So, but if you didn't catch this talk live anyway, I'll provide a way for you to still watch the talk and still claim CPD points, and it will be a pinned comment to this YouTube video. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to stream the talk now. So it's about 26 minutes. If you're watching on a mobile device, the text could be a bit small, but turn up the volume, and I'm sure you can follow it with the volume up. But if in a big screen, I think the text will be more visible. So here goes.
Good afternoon to everybody. Today, I'm here to explain what is aggravated damages in medical negligence. All right, what is aggravated damages in layman's term? Okay, it actually means our understanding as an injury which can only be compensated. In other words, intangible injury because they have already suffered the injury or are still suffering. Aggravated damages is caused during the negligent act, probably during the surgery, or performing some sort of treatment which resulted in some injury. Okay, can I go into full detail of what is aggravated damages all about? Can we look at the slides? All right, aggravated damages. Yeah, aggravated damages is when the plaintiff has suffered loss when other pecuniary losses, example, feelings of ashamed, loss of reputation, and etc. Number two, courts take into account a defendant's motive and act when the tort was committed. And aggravated damages are simply put not to punish but serves to compensate for medical distress. And aggravated damages are awarded in addition to damages, and it must be pleaded, and obviously is compensatory. Right before we move on, can I explain, since we are the lawyers, so it's actually mandatory for us to explain who is the plaintiff and who is the defendant. The plaintiff is the patient or the patient's family members, if in the event the plaintiff is incapacitated to bring the action by himself or herself. Parties they sue is the defendant, i.e. the person committed the malpractice. So there is the defendant, there is the plaintiff. Right, can we look at slide number 2, which is much clearer, right? Which gives us a proper explanation. All right, the usual position in a civil case is that when damages are awarded to the plaintiff, the object and measure of these damages is merely to compensate him or her for the loss or damage suffered because of the defendant's behavior. In rare cases, damages go beyond this. Okay, what do they mean by go beyond this? Actually, it depends on the lawyer. How do they actually draft the statement of claim, the writ, the summons, their papers, their prayers, actually, their prayers. Anything goes wrong, they will always harp on it wasn't pleaded. So that is the main criteria, a vital criteria, actually. Now let's go on. Extra damages beyond the normal compensatory damages may also take the form of aggravated damages, where a plaintiff has suffered added hurt or distress provoked by the high-handed manner the defendant carried out the wrongful act or behaved subsequent to carrying it out. Because of the substantial overlap between exemplary and aggravated damages, it is seldom they would both be awarded in the same case. All right, right before we move on, all right, can I explain the types of damages awarded in the court? Okay, basically, there are special damages, aggravated damages, and exemplary damages. In the event of a medical negligence case, exemplary and aggravated damages are prayed together, but unfortunately, aggravated damages are actually basically on the hurt, the feelings suffered by the defendant. Okay, they are awarded only if the conduct of the defendant is high-handed, insolent, vindicative, or exhibits a gross disregard for the rights of the plaintiff. All right, now can we move on to a famous case of medical negligence? Here, it is the famous case of Mr. Hari Krishnan and another against Megat Nur Ishaq bin Megat Ibrahim. Right, if I go to the, no, can I brief this case here? No, I think it's a very famous case. Here, Dr. Hari had wrongly advised the plaintiff to undergo the second operation, thereby subjecting the plaintiff to unnecessary risks, including the instance of bucking, which led to blindness in the plaintiff's right eye, and that Dr. Namazi had failed in his responsibility to keep the plaintiff anesthetized, completely relaxed and pain-free throughout the operation. All right, the Court of Appeal found that the hospital was vicariously liable for the actions of Dr. Hari and Dr. Namazi and relied on the doctrine of non-delegable duties, by which employers of independent contracts were strictly liable for the contractor's negligence. In this case is the doctor. Hence, 2 appeals arose against the decision of the Court of Appeal. Okay, that is one. Can we look at the next page, please? This is slide 5. Here, aggravated damages are awarded by the courts to compensate for injuries to feelings affecting pride and dignity, humiliation, as well as mental distress. So as you can see, even in Dr. Hari Krishnan's case, as you can see, the aggravated damages awarded was 1 million. So how did the courts come up to that amount? Is actually the loss, the pain and the suffering suffered by the patient. If put in layman's term, aggravated damages cannot be assessed monetarily. It's what the judge feels at that time and what is actually put in the prayers by the lawyer. All right, in this case, okay, we are on the same page. Huh? The court has allowed aggravated damages to be awarded in medical negligence claims, as the court held that such injuries are real injuries affecting a person's body. If you can see right below that, the one highlighted in slide brown. Okay, insolent behavior of the medical practitioner towards the patient and family members causing distress and anxiety, negative conduct displayed throughout the trial, failure to follow hospital guidelines, inaccurate information and dishonesty in documentation, suppression of the patient's medical records. Okay, these could be the reasons raised in aggravated damages. All right, can we turn the page? Okay, can we go to slide number 6? In slide number 6, this is basically is about personal injury or death. It's an appeal against damages awarded for this Okay, facts here. The deceased died 4 days after he was arrested on suspicion of being involved in a kidnapping case and detained in a police lockup. At the inquest into the death, the coroner ruled that the death was due to negligence, omission, and dereliction of duties on the part of the police. A suit was brought by the respondents, who were the wife and the daughter of the deceased, to claim for losses suffered due to the wrongful acts of the appellant. The High Court held that the respondents had proven their claims in negligence by omission and public misfeasance. The compensation comprises 200,000 in exemplary damages, loss of dependency compensation amounting to 144,000, besides 10,000 for bereavement, and 3,500 in special damages had been awarded in the respondents. The appellants are dissatisfied with the decision in respect of the award of exemplary damages and filed an appeal to the Court of Appeal, but it was dismissed. However, in this case, allowing the appeal, the Federal Court held that the conditions to exemplary damages under Section 8 sub 2 of the Civil Law Act to the respondents had not been met in this case. However, that does not mean that the appellants were allowed to walk away scot-free for the wrong that had been done to the deceased. The court further stated that without resorting to a violent interpretation of the said action, punishment can and ought to be meted out under aggravated damages. Consequently, the sum of 200,000 is awarded as aggravated damages instead of exemplary damages. Exemplary damages is of punitive nature, so that the defendant does not repeat the act. Here in this case, the defendant has died. So there is there is nothing to actually value the suffering undergone. Can we look at the next slide, please? Here, as you can see, substantial, in this case, Muhammad Rizwan Abdul Razak. Okay, substantial damages may be awarded for any dignity, discomfort, or inconvenience suffered. Even aggravated damages may be awarded in light of the motive or conduct of the tortfeasor. Okay, if we can stroll down right down here, in the case of Appleton against Garrett, okay, aggravated damages were given to patients of a dentist for injury to feelings, mental distress, anger, and indignation upon learning that much of the dental treatment given to them was unnecessary and to large extent performed on healthy teeth. The dentist had deliberately and in bad faith concealed from them the true condition of the teeth so that he could carry out dental works for profit. So as you can see, it is not something the dentist has incurred here. It's the patient, the pain and suffering. The pain and suffering that, so how are the courts going to assess the pain and suffering? That is dependent upon the prayers laid down by the lawyer on record. Okay, can we go to the next page? Here it says aggravated damages are awarded if the court wishes to express disapproval of a defendant's behavior, as a result of which the plaintiff suffered more than normally be expected in the situation, as you can see. So if the court thinks that the plaintiff has suffered a lot of pain, leave aside the hospital expenses, the traveling expenses. That is what we lawyers will normally do in the prayers. But if the court thinks there is something beyond the pain, especially the pain, the court is bound to actually exceed there is no limitation to actually grant how much the aggravated damages should be. You see, as you can see in Dr. Hari Krishnan's case. So you see, just because he failed to explain to the patient that the patient shouldn't buck the head while the surgery is being performed, so the patient actually lost sight in one eye. So actually it's actually gone. That eye is gone. So the patient will be only surviving with one eye. So the court actually saw, how can somebody be moving around with one eye? So all this actually is prayed by the lawyer in the papers, in the cost papers. So as you can see down there, as you can see, 1 million as aggravated damages. If we can go to the next slide. All right, here is a slide which explains what is special damages, general damages, nominal damages, exemplary damages. These are the damages we actually pray as lawyers in the cost papers. All right, let me see what is special damages. Damages claimed and or awarded in the lawsuit which were an out-of-pocket cost directly as a result of the breach of contract, negligence, or other wrongful act by the defendant. And general damages are monetary recovery, money won in a lawsuit for injuries suffered such as pain, suffering, inability to perform certain functions, or breach of contract for which there is no exact dollar value which can be calculated. All right, let's look at exemplary damages. These normally comes hand in hand with aggravated damages, often called punitive damages. These are damages requested and or damages in a lawsuit when the defendant's willful acts were malicious, violent, oppressive, fraudulent, and grossly reckless. Anyway, what normally the practice, the courts will do actually, this exemplary and aggravated put together is the courts will normally grant only for aggravated damages. All right, now let's look at the next slide. This is a multi-million-dollar suit, okay, which is still going on, Okay, this is a $8 million award in medical negligence case, excessive or proportionate. Okay, in this case, let's look at the brief facts. Can I read it out? It was originally intended, in this case, Nuru Arisa Naura binti Muhammad Nur Arizal Nur Dr. Abirami Kunasilan and others, 2023, a consent judgment was recorded where the government of Malaysia admitted liability with damages and costs to be assessed by the court. After assessment of damages, the High Court awarded damages of approximately 8 million together with interest and costs. This is one of the highest quantum of damages awarded by the Malaysian courts in medical negligence cases. All right, brief facts. It was originally intended for the second plaintiff, who had a history of high risk of pregnancies, to have had an emergency lower section cesarean section on 18th of March 2019 to deliver the first plaintiff by 8 p.m. on 17 March 2019. The first plaintiff in utero showed signs and symptoms of bradycardia. Despite detecting this, a plate decision was made at 9:20 for the second plaintiff to undergo an emergency cesarean. Further delay allowed before the first plaintiff was delivered at 10:14 p.m. You saw the time differential of time there. All right. The first plaintiff suffered spastic quadriplegic cerebral palsy secondary to hypoxic ischemic with a developmental milestone of less than 3 months old as a result of negligence due to the various delays. So here the negligent act was the delay. So the first plaintiff, now aged 4, okay, had grown normally and would not be normal. She needed round-the-clock care as she was unable to attend to her own bodily functions and required help and care in feedings, bathing, cleaning up and wiping up her own saliva. She also had weak muscles and was unable to sit or stand on her own, was unable to communicate and did not show any comprehension to her surroundings, required physiotherapy, and there were days when she displayed dystonia, a neurological movement disorder, and had medical appointments of not less than 20 times yearly. Hence, the plaintiff commenced the suit at the High Court against the government of Malaysia and the medical officers and staff of Hospital Selayang. The claim against the medical officers and staff of Hospital Selayang was withdrawn after the government of Malaysia admitted liability. So as you see, all right, let's go on, let's move on. Reliefs sought by the plaintiffs. The plaintiffs claimed for an inter alia special damages, namely 13,632 for travel expenses, but were prepared to accept a reduction to 6,000. Right, you see this can be actually mitigated. 4,432 for the cost of nutrition, special food, vitamins and other supplements, and 10,000 for cost of personal care items. And general damages of 500,000 for pain and suffering endured by the first plaintiff, and also loss of amenities of life. Aggravated damages following the delayed admission of guilt by the defendants. And future general damages, namely for medicines and supplements, special equipments and consumables. All right, can we look at the next page where there is a small subsection there which talks about aggravated damages. Right, aggravated damages are additional compensation awarded for injury to the plaintiff's feelings and dignity where there are aggravating circumstances that result in the plaintiffs not receiving sufficient compensation. All right, this is what aggravated damages is all about. Is something unseen that you cannot value with money. So it's the plaintiff's feeling and dignity. So the High Court awarded 350,000 to the plaintiffs. The aggravating factors in this case are the issue of delay featured from the point where the second plaintiff needed urgent medical attention to the admission of liability when knowledge on the part of the defendant was apparent pursuant to the conclusion of the internal findings, to the provisions of medical records for discovery, and the way of assessment of damages was conducted. All right. Now let's look at all right, shall we leave the cases aside? Okay, as you can see in what is going on in the courts now is quantum of damages has skyrocketed. It is always better to take a higher coverage for doctors and practical manner of the scenario. To look at the practical manner of the scenario depends on the factors highlighted. So it's dependent on what is laid down in the course papers. All right. So as I've explained, aggravated damages is actually it is not something you can see. It's not something you have spent along the way. It's the feelings and pain. suffered along the way, which can be always mitigated. You can actually talk, ask for a settlement. You can, instead of always looking into legal actions. All right, I think that's all I have to say about aggravated damages.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Viveka, for the talk on aggravated damages. And I'd like to invite Ms. Viveka to the stage to take some questions. And there are already some questions on our YouTube channel.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi,
Viveka.
Viveka.
Hi, doctor. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
There's a bit of
okay.
echo.
There's a bit of echo.
I think your microphone is
I think
picking
your
up my
microphone
voice.
is picking up my voice.
Maybe you can turn
Is
down.
the-
Maybe you
is
can
the-
turn down
Is the connection very interrupting?
Yeah, I can hear my voice.
Yeah, I can
on
hear my
your
voice.
microphone.
Yeah,
So
I
maybe
think
can you
you're
turn-
quite.
Can you turn down your
Can you
speaker
turn down
volume?
your speaker volume?
volume
Oh,
of
I
computer.
see. Okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Make it.
Make it.
But
Okay.
is that fine?
Okay.
Yeah. No, I can still hear myself.
No, I can still hear myself.
Okay, I can hear you too. All right.
No, but
Yeah, but
okay, never mind.
okay, never
I
mind.
will try not to talk too much. Okay,
not
now
too much. Okay, now
there's one question.
there's
Maybe you
one
just want to
question. Maybe you
clarify
just want to clarify
Yeah.
what
what
the difference between aggravated and
aggravated
exemplary
and
damages.
damages.
Just go back to the
Yes.
basics
Go
again.
back to the basics again.
All right. Can I increase my volume? All right.
Yeah,
As
you're
I
fine. Yeah.
said
Yeah, you're
before,
fine.
Don't
yes,
don't
yes, I
don't
think-
increase your
Don't
speaker volume.
increase your speaker volume.
Oh,
Speaker
okay,
volume.
okay, sure.
If your speaker
Alright.
volume, which
Your speaker
turn
volume,
down the speaker volume to
turn down
zero.
the volume to zero.
Oh, you want me to turn down to 0?
To minimum,
Okay.
so that you can just about hear me. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Doctor, can you hear
So
me?
maybe you can. I can hear you. Yeah. So perhaps we can just start with the basics by explaining what aggravated damages and how it differs from exemplary damages.
Exemplary damages. Yeah.
Okay, aggravated damages is basically the pain gone through by the plaintiff in the event the plaintiff is taking an action through the family, what the plaintiff has gone through. So it is something, it is not assessed monetarily. Is pain and dignity, the mental torture, the mental trauma. Okay, that is aggravated damages. Exemplary damages is basically awarded to punish the defendant. So it is punitive in nature, so that nobody will repeat the same act as what the defendant did. That's all. So, but basically, both aggravated and exemplary are awarded together, or sometimes only aggravated damages.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and
that
and it,
so
it, yeah,
one-
it comes down to how it is prayed in the papers. You know, we must explain why are we asking for exemplary, how are we asking the courts to be punitive in nature, and why aggravated damages, and we assess how much we are asking for the plaintiff against the defendant. That's all.
Now there are two comments here which are very similar. One is Dr. Evelyn asked, is suffering is very subjective, okay, compared to
Yes.
physical injury or loss. So how do you elaborate on the legal thresholds and criteria that courts use to determine when aggravated damages are appropriate?
The aggravated damages basically the pain gone through is basically awarded for a tort as a compensation for the plaintiff's mental distress, where the manner in which the defendant has committed the tort or his motives in doing so, or his conduct subsequent to the tort has outraged the plaintiff. And
Yeah, I just
so
interrupt
you
here.
saw not that there is an element of feelings here, and how are we asking the court to assess how much losses? So we can actually put down any amount. So the courts will actually decide on how much should be awarded. And
Feelings are very subjective.
subjective. Yes,
So
exactly.
some
That's
person
right.
may be very, very sensitive, and so are the doctors subject to this whims of this subjectivity where there's no objective assessment, and it's up to the
Yeah,
court to
good.
decide.
Yeah, good
What's your
question,
comment?
doctor. Yeah, my comment is okay. Basically, we can actually relate it to his malpractice. How his malpractice is involved to have caused the plaintiff the aggravated damages. So what are the procedures that he did not follow? So otherwise, it's all prayed in the prayers, the papers. We have to see a lot of evidences what the doctor has committed, what is the surgery for. There is major work to be done.
Okay. Another
How do
question:
standards?
how do the standards and methods of aggravated damages vary across different common law jurisdictions?
Which can be learned from very
Yeah.
vary across different common law jurisdictions. It's basically aggravated damages is what kind of losses the plaintiff has actually suffered. That's all. It varies. It varies across in different. You see, as if I may highlight what the an English case whereby Lord Devlin has highlighted that aggravated damages is unclear. The best view, in accordance with Lord Devlin's authoritative analysis in Rooks and Bernard, appears to be that they are damages awarded for a tort as a compensation for the plaintiff's mental distress, where the manner in which the defendant has committed the tort or his motives in so doing, or his conduct subsequent to the tort has upset or outraged the plaintiff. So that is an English case. So there is so much. How has it upset or outraged the plaintiff? Or what are the losses? Could be a nearest family member, could be the next of kin. How has it caused him mental distress? So actually, it depends on the jurisdiction and the judge. It's very subjective. It's very subjective. Yes.
Okay, let's move to the third question, and it states, what are the key evidentiary requirements that the plaintiff must meet to successfully claim aggravated damages, and how can these be effectively demonstrated in court?
Okay, since aggravated damages, since it is subjective, it is actually basically you can claim. You see, it comes hand in hand together with exemplary damages. The pain that you suffered, together with how punitive your feelings are in order to punish the defendant. So it comes hand in hand, you know. So in the midst, in the course of actually wanting to claim punitive exemplary damages, the courts will actually see what are you eligible for aggravated damages. So mostly when the courts are actually awarding more for aggravated damages in mind, exemplary damages will be just put aside. They will just award for aggravated damages, and that will be more, just like the case of Hare Krishnan, whereby the aggravated damages was 1 million. So the exemplary damages will become lesser. So it's actually works hand in hand, because exemplary damages will actually see the tort committed by the defendant, and the courts will assess how is the tort linked to the aggravated damages. So the court will assess accordingly. That's all, which is again subjective in nature.
Yeah, and still on the subject of subjective in nature, to what extent do judicial discretion and subjective assessment play a role in awarding aggravated damages? And how can consistency and fairness be ensured?
Across different consistency and fairness. Actually, since there is a differential in awarding aggravated damages, the courts will actually see who is the plaintiff and who is the defendant. How is the no whether you are actually, there was one case whether you are covered by the when there is the duty of care imposed on the defendant. How has the defendant failed to abide by the duty of care? Was it just mere a mistake or negligence, or a failure to actually abide by his duties? So that is how. Don't you think when the law has actually given you a duty and you didn't abide by it, you know, like in medical negligent cases, you fail to do something which the law imposes you to do to advise your patient. I think by not doing so, it's negligent. It's a negligent act by the practitioner. So that is how the courts will assess. How is it something imposed by the law and you fail to do, or is it something, a failure? It's a mistake which happened in the course. It's a nature's course, which is all prayed in the papers, course papers, of course.
Okay,
Any more
let's move on
questions?
to yes, there are a few more. Have there been any studies that demonstrate the impact of awarding aggravated damages on deterring future misconduct?
On deterring future misconduct, any empirical studies? Not that I went through during the case laws research, but aggravated damages are not punitive. It is actually to provide damages for the plaintiff. Punitive in nature is only for exemplary damages, when the plaintiff does some mistake, because it's punitive in nature and you have actually caused damages for the defendant. So exemplary damages is different, aggravated damages is different.
So now we are again at the whims of a very subjective assessment, and the aggravated damages as compensation could be very, very high.
Exactly, and
Yeah,
and what is laid down in the course papers, as lawyers, we have to bring in myriad cause of actions, evidences, in order to prove all this.
yeah. So somewhat related to this is, so what is adequate coverage for the doctor you mentioned, and you know, could you comment on it?
No, yeah, I think it's all in the insurance you all have applied for. There is definitely certain coverage for what act, how is it um, is it within the hospital, um, outside the hospital? There are cases where the doctor is commits an act outside the hospital. So he's fully liable. He's fully liable.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, adequate coverage will actually cover your act while being as a doctor, performing the action as a doctor.
So, are we sort of singled out? Are we doctors low hanging fruit because we have malpractice insurance, and therefore, all these awards are coming in and going out, and we are subject to
Oh yes, oh
unnecessary.
yes. Awards are
Mhm.
actually skyrocketing. It's basically how you are actually covered. What are the kind of damages which you are actually covered? It's listed down. It's listed down in your coverage. Definitely, there's not. Okay, exactly how much? How do we observe doctors being
Yeah.
severely penalized by the courts, yet never encounter cases of traditional healers facing litigation? Because traditional healers, definitely, if you can actually prove that they have committed malpractice, if you can prove, everything is basically how we can prove. If they can prove that they have committed a malpractice, you can bring it to the courts and we can assess the damages there. Is what we lay down in the cost papers at the end of the day, and what are the losses suffered by the plaintiff.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe they're just not highlighted, and maybe they are not targets because they don't have malpractice
Yes,
insurance.
exactly. That's right. That's right.
Mm.
And they are not doctors to be actually covered by medical insurance.
Okay. Just a few couple more questions. We have time. So this is about signing waivers when people participate in events and protecting the organizations and businesses from legal liability. So why can't doctors do the same?
Just trying to earn a living. You want to sign waivers, is it? I think that's unfair, isn't it? No, I think I'm here to explain what is aggravated damages all about. I think it's not fair that doctors should sign waivers. When the plaintiff actually depends so much, there is a duty imposed on the doctor, and how can the doctor, bearing the duty of care, sign waivers? I think it's not fair. The court will decide on that, definitely.
Yeah. Maybe not so much fair waivers, but I'm told by my plastic surgical colleagues in the United States, for example, patients actually take up procedural insurance. So they're not relying on the doctor's insurance. And that may maybe mitigate some of the awards and things like that when something mishaps will happen. So uh, maybe that's a subject for
But
another, yeah,
yeah,
another
it is
discussion.
another subjective point as well. Depends on what is the
Mm.
damage suffered by the plaintiff. Let me see the case of why can't we take the patient, take your victim as it is, as they are. And just like there is something called the thin skull rule. Let me tell you, just out of the box. You take your victim as they are. Some patients are actually vulnerable, severely vulnerable to certain medical conditions. So even that we have to highlight. We have to highlight how are they vulnerable. So take your That's thin skull rule practice, but that is English law, but it doesn't apply in Malaysia. I don't know how it's actually pleaded in the court papers. What are the factors involved, the patient's vulnerability, and the medical conditions. There are so many factors we have to highlight in order to impose a duty on the doctor for malpractice, which is very difficult, very difficult. That is why there's something called aggravated damages. The plaintiff suffers something which cannot be seen. The court grants them in such a way.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
the last few comments are just on the touch on the subject of ever climbing awards. They keep climbing up, and
Yes.
is there any ceiling?
You see to the amount of
And is
ceiling for
there
the
good?
amount of
Should
award.
there be actually any ceiling? And then Evelyn says also things will just go higher and higher, and everything is like a vicious cycle. Your premiums go up, and then the awards go up, the premiums go up some more. In the end, also
Yes.
everyone loses except perhaps the lawyers. Sorry, but
Yeah,
the
yeah, it
patients,
happens. It happens. It's okay. It's all right. It
yeah,
happens. It
yeah,
happens. It
but
happens.
the patients will end up paying more for their medical expenses. Hospitals will have to, charge more. Premiums goes up, charges will go up. So it's a vicious cycle. So I think what Dr. Firdaus says that perhaps the country needs to come together, and we got so many. We got general damages, now you have aggravated damages, up to the whims and subjective assessment by the courts, and also how sensitive the patient is. I'm really felt so hurt and by all this and all that. So aggravated damages to can compensate for the hurt, and then if the judge also feels the doctor was not doing it, there was some wrongdoing, then there's punitive damages. So everything goes up and the whole thing escalates. And there's, you know, in the end, you think there should be a ceiling.
Yeah, definitely. There should be a ceiling. It's actually basically the act committed by the malpractitioner, despite having so many procedures, yet the patient actually fell victim, fell victim to that particular act. We can raise that in the court papers, definitely in the defense. Definitely there is. Definitely there is. Actually, it's all the legal jargon, is how we actually word it in the court papers.
Okay.
Definitely there is.
All
There
right.
is
I
some,
think,
there has to be some ceiling. Yeah.
okay. I think we've
Okay,
come
I
up to
think
almost an
we
hour.
come up to almost an hour.
We had a very good discussion, and I'd like to thank all the audience for putting in the questions. I think we will come to the final bit of the session, which is actually the CBD points. So thank you all for staying up to uh, this part. And the dentist already do have your registration link. For the doctors, now this is the link to claim your CPD points for this live presentation. So go to dops.my/2905524. Okay, the QR code, if you just use a normal QR code, will take you to the same link. This is actually a Google form. Please fill in your details so that we can hang on, let me remove that from the screen so you can see the whole thing. All right, so fill in your registration and do so before midnight tonight, because by tomorrow this link will expire. All right, so now if you're watching this after the live session is over, don't worry, we'll give you a way to claim points for watching, and just watch out for the pinned comment in this YouTube video. Please do like the video and subscribe to our channel. Okay, once again, I'd like to thank Ms. Viveka for your wonderful talk and enlightening us on aggravated damages, something which we practitioners should be very well aware of. And now we learned what's the difference between this, punitive damages, and so on. Um,
Most welcome.
yeah. All right. So this this link will still be there. I think you can play back and rewind the thing if you are watching it non-live. But until midnight tonight, you can still use the link. Okay. So I wish everybody good night and thank you once again, Ms. Weberga, for your talk and your patience in answering our questions.
Most welcome, doctor. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to end the stream now.
All right.